Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's question time. Tonight's question time is a special one, being the anniversary of the channel. We're going to be doing a 3-hour long live stream where we answer all the questions you want to ask about games development, Unreal Engine, or anything you like at all. It's totally up to you what you want to ask. All you do is put your question into chat and I'll try and catch as many as I can within the time that we're here. And if I do miss your question, don't worry, just put it back into chat and I'll try and catch it next. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? We've got a long one. I'm incredibly tired, if you can't tell. So here it goes. Right, let's go into the live scene here to answer some questions we've got. So Nathan Buxton has been asking how to manipulate static mesh assets, trying to remove parts of a mesh that have had material elements assigned. Seems there should be an easy way to delete those mesh elements. No. So what you're trying to do is first of all, the solution to what you're trying to do would be have multiple static meshes which are combined together via sockets and so forth. Material elements are just UV based stuff. They're not related to the actual mesh at all. So it can't just say delete that part of the mesh, delete that part of the vertex or whatever. The closest you can do to that is adding a transparent material to it, so it's now see-through in that element. But no, there's not going to be an easy way of doing that as you think. So if you wanted to do that, you need multiple static meshes. Next question. Hello, Angus. Next question. Abstream B, hey Ryan, how are you? How's the stream? Yesterday I had to leave early, unfortunately. The stream went well. I'm very well, thank you. Very tired. Kids kept me up late most nights tonight, this week. So yeah, feeling the burn. But it's all right. We'll make it. We'll be alive. It's okay. Lottie, hi, thanks for your help the other week with the bug you helped me fix out of the way. I was able to find and fix even more bugs. Hey, excellent, that's good to hear. Nathan, well, I would love to do this, point me in the right direction. So I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, but yeah, you just have multiple static meshes. You just break it into multiple meshes. So if you've got it into Maya, for example, select the parts you want to be one mesh and export just those parts, and then do the same for the other parts, and eventually you'll have two complete parts that can go together. All you have to do then is make sure they snap to each other's sockets. To add a socket to a static mesh is pretty simple. All you do is open up your static mesh. So for example, let's take a look at our table here, and I want to add, say, the little statuette to it. So on here I'm going to go to my socket manager and click add socket, and we're going to call this one statue, and I can place this wherever I like. Okay, now I can also preview an asset on here if I somewhere it closed. Yeah, preview scene settings. No, that ain't it. Where is it? There's a way to preview it. Details. It's usually down here. Advanced. Oh, there you go. It's in the advanced section. In here we'll do statue, and there it is. Okay, and then I can scale that socket and move that socket around and line things up as I wish. Okay, so yeah, we can also scale the socket too. So you go to relative scale. You can scale this down if you wish. So like 0.25. 0.25. Okay, and you now got it a lot smaller, and you can place it around the scene. Kind of snaps and all that. It makes it a bit easier to place it exactly where you want it. But yeah, and that's how you add sockets to it. So what you do is this is a preview. You don't actually add this to the socket like here. So if you wanted to say, let's go to it back here. Okay, so I want that statue to be there, for example. If I wanted to attach my statuette to that table, let's say I create a blueprint for this. And in here, we're going to add our table mesh. Table. And then with it selected, I set another select mesh onto it. And this one's going to be a statuette. Statue. So there it is. Obviously, it's not attached to the socket yet. So all you do is go up to the parent socket here, click a little icon, and you'll see statue. Click that, and it'll snap to that position. There you go. Now, you can still move it when it's in here. As you see, the location is still 0, 0, 0. That's because it's relative to the socket. So you can still move it, scale it, however you want in here too. We call that an offset. Okay. Next question. Apo86. Why doesn't owning client work on server and client on a character placed in the world using set owner using an on server custom event? I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do with the owning client thing. So if you don't know, for those who don't know, anything that is spawned into the world, but it is owned by the thing that spawned into the world. Now, if something is being spawned into the world that's replicated, that would be the server spawning it in. Therefore, the server is going to be the owner of that thing. So if you wanted to get the owning client of it, you can't. You'll get the owning client, which will be the server. So you do have to change ownership to stuff like this. Now, if you do spawn actor, you'll see a little pin saying owner. You have to make sure you set the actor that you want to own it into there, and that actor should be the player character. That should be the one that you want to take control over it. Trying to add shop HUD to the client interacts with the HUD will only show on the client. Heads-up displays and widgets will only ever show up on the client. You cannot do any HUD stuff, widget stuff, or anything like that on anything else apart from the client. So be wary of that. Hey, in my multiplayer game, I have a widget above the player's name. How can I replicate it? So with widgets, as I said, you can't replicate a widget in its entirety. However, you can replicate things such as variables and functions that are happening on it, especially when it's a world-based one, like above their head, for example. But what you're replicating ultimately is the numbers. So if it's got a health bar, you're not replicating that on the widget. You're replicating the health on the actual character. So, and then the widget's just reflecting that. The widget itself, I wouldn't even make networked. The widget's going to look at networked data, but ultimately it's not going to be networked. Yeah, only shows on server because interact interfaces are always on the server. Correct. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you pass over to the server who is doing the interaction. So when you got in, you'll see me often do this when I do an interface for interact with. I'm usually passing over who is interacting with it, which character is doing it. You'll make sure you set ownership to that character when they interact with it, and then they can do stuff with it. But a good example of this, I do it in the inventory system series for UE5 for the chest. Do the same thing for that there. You're welcome, Max. And you're very welcome too, Apo. Can you please show me how to pick up and drop items on different worktops like in Overcooked? Ooh, yeah, sure. I love Overcooked. So, yeah, let's do that. So, the way Overcooked, I assume, will work is... Let me delete this blueprint I made. Yeah. Is we need to make, first of all, the counter, the unit. And all the units are the same sort of thing. Basically, you have counter. This will be the parent class for counter. So we'll have a cube. And we'll just... Oh, like that. Okay. And I want to put objects onto here and so forth. Now, the way they do it is they don't just like... Well... No, they don't just fling it around. They can place things around. So for that, you would have a scene component. Or if you've got a mesh, you can use a socket like we just did. But if you haven't got a socket, you can just go into the scene component and add the scene component to the top of this thing here. And that would be the place where things go. Now, to place things onto this, we need to make sure we have a way of interacting with this. So we're going to also add to our cube a box collision. And could it be accessed from any angle? We need to make sure that we can cover any angle. Now, I want to make sure I don't cover diagonals because that would be confusing. So I want to make sure the player is in front of the desktop in either way. So like that. And I'm going to duplicate that box again. And rotate it around. So I've got this sort of like star shape. Plus sign almost. Okay, and that's the countertop really done there. So all I need to do is pick up items and drop them on them. So let's create a fake food item. Ooh, FOD. Yep. Food. And this chap is going to have a cube, not a plane. It'll be a. We'll just do a sphere for this one. Obviously, you have actual models for this. Bring it down, size. There we go. And we want to place this so it's sitting on top of the root. Okay. So one more. No. Right, first time. There you go. So I want it to be sitting on top of the root because the root is going to snap to the socket. So therefore, I want to make sure it's on top of the table. Otherwise, it's going to clip through and it'll look weird. So compile and save that. And there's our food. Now we need to be able to interact to pick this stuff up. So let's do a simple interaction system with this. Now, for a game like Overcooked, the player character is quite simplified. So I'm just going to duplicate this guy. I've got a copy. I'm going to do Overcooked character. And we're just going to tweak this one to work like an Overcooked character. So, in other words, we're going to take the camera boom, turn off use pawn control rotation, rotate it up, turn off inherit yaw. Don't want to do that. And the reason why we turn that off is because we don't want it to turn with the player. We want it to stay static following the player. So turning that off will mean it will just follow and won't turn. Hit compile there. And on the event graph here, we're going to change the direction of our movement and move forward and backwards. Because W and S are going to move up and down inside the screen. So not necessarily following where we're looking with the control rotation. So what we want to do is, rather than using that, is we want to go forwards in the world. So just put in there. Now that may need adjusting based on which way our character spawns in, but we can work on that. And then yeah, the other way, Y, right and left. So let's make our game use that character and see if we can get them moving around. Go over to our world settings here and override our default pawn class to the Overcooked character. Okay, so there's my character, and it looks like movement's working just fine. I got it right first time. Woohoo! Okay, so there's our character doing their thing. Obviously, Overcooked, they have a stationary camera. I'm not going to worry about that. This will be fine as it is for today. So this thing needs to know when it can pick up stuff. So for Overcooked, they've got quite a simple interaction system. It's literally, if you're in front of it, can you pick it up? That's essentially all it is. So we'll keep it simple. We won't bother with the line traces or anything like that because we're not moving the camera. We're not aiming at anything. So I'm going to add a box collision to this. And this box collision is going to be attached to our capsule. Yep. And we want to make sure it's x-axis long enough for them to reach out and grab stuff. No, too long there. Let's do 50. There you go. I'm gonna put that on the floor. Actually, let's just make it the height of the character. That'll do. Okay. So, when I want to pick up the food on my event graph, we're going to do on overlap of this box. So add on component begin overlap. And I'm going to go other actor. And I want to register that other actor as my recently, like my ready to pick up actor. Okay, so I'm going to promote that to a variable. No, focused target. We'll call. And then we'll do end overlap to clear that before we forget to do it. Do focus target clear like that. Obviously you can do a lot more advanced version of this, but time's sake, so I'm not about too much. So then when I push the E key, we're going to pick up the focus target and I'm gonna put it above my head. So like I did with the table, I'm gonna add a scene component for this. Obviously you have an animation to match this. I don't have an animation to do this, so for now this will do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so when I push this, I want my focus target here to attach to actor. You get actor to actor. And we're going to attach it. Sorry, not actor to actor. Actor to component. Attach actor component. There we are. So the actor we're attaching is the focus target, and the parent is going to be the scene component. And we'll do snap the target. Then you're going to clear focus target. Okay. But then I want to make sure well, actually, before I click that, I want to store what I've actually got covered above my head. So we just take this focus target and promote it to another variable called picked up item. Okay, I say there's multiple ways of doing this. This is just a simple way of doing it. And then we clear focus target. Now another thing is we want to make sure that when we end overlap and begin overlap, we can only do this if we're not currently carrying anything. So if I move this aside here and just drag in picked up item and create a validated get for this, plug that in. If it's not valid, yeah, and same again, bottom, not valid, clear it. Yeah, that'll do that. So let's see if that works. I'm gonna put my food item on the floor. Obviously you make special maybe interfaces, classes, whatever it is that you may want to pick up. In fact, I should actually do that. Let's do we want to do a check to see if the focus target here is actually pick upable. So let's make a interface for this. Pick upable item. For food, file settings, pick upable item. Yeah. And all I do on this one then is I just check to see if the other actor here implements interface of pickable item. That way I don't accidentally pick up anything I want. So let's go and chuck in some food in here and see if that goes above our head. Put a counter in whilst I'm here. Okay, so I should go to here, push E, and it is above my head. Okay. So next job is make it so I go up to the counter, push E, it places it on that head, onto the counter. So let's go back to player character. Thank you, Mr. Flip. Okay, so we got that working. Next, we need to make it go into the counter. So when I overlap a counter here, I need to check whether or not my character is actually holding anything. So on my event graph here, we're going to go on actor begin overlap. Let's take into account both of these boxes. So it's useful to know that. Another actor here, I'm going to cast to overcooked player. And we're going to check to see if they got the picked up item. do a validate get. Okay, so now I want to enable input on this thing. So if if I do have this and it is valid, I want to get player controller. And I want to enable input. And that's going to go on to if it's if we end overlap, I want to disable input, so we'll do end overlap, and we'll do enable input. Yeah, I guess so. That's one way of doing it. And then when we push the E key on here, I kind of want to promote that to a variable as well. Going to take the picked up item here. No. We'll take the player character. So I want the player character reference because we need to be able to drop the item onto a counter and change some of its variables, so it's easier if we've got a reference to it. So as overcooked character, picked up item will be moved to this actor instead. So we're going to do attach actor to component, and that component is going to be the scene component. Again, snap to, snap to, snap to. Then we want to tell our character, overcooked character, to clear those values. Okay, so we're going to do set picked up item nothing. Otherwise, if you don't do that, its reference is still existing. It may not hold it, but it knows about it, and when you push buttons, it's going to respond to that one instead, which we don't want. Let's see if this works. Now, onion, so to speak. Push this to here. Not going to work. What am I getting? Access none. Trying to. I think that's actually something to do with the actual interact. Hang on. That is to do with the focus target here. Write that to a variable. Now it may be having trouble because it thinks it's still connected to me, so therefore, if I go to the counter, I can detach it. So I go picked up item, attach from actor. File. Play. Still no. No. Counter. Let's work out, debug this. Cast overcooked character. But let's see if this is actually getting triggered first. So add a breakpoint on there. So I'm not getting that triggered. I can work it backwards. If that's not getting triggered, then maybe enable input's not getting triggered. So let's no, that's not getting triggered. Okay, so picked up item not being set. E to pick up item equals focus target, here. That should work. Print string this guy. It didn't print string, why not? How can it not print string? Pick up item, focus target. The focus target instead. Still not print stringing. That's interesting. Right, so what's going on there? It's moving it. Oh, I think I know why. I know why. I know why. I know why. It's because it's ending overlap over here before, like, this is moving it out of my character, out of the character's hand and put it on my head. Therefore, it's triggering the end overlap. So I need to do this bit before I attach it. Plug that in. Plug that in. Let's see that working now. Or not. What is going on? Oh, it's because focus target's been set here. I don't. My bad. Focus item still needs to be on the other side. There we go. There we go. And go up to here. There we go. Now it's triggering. Remove. Oh, because this. Go up to here. Push E, and it now attaches it to the table. Okay. I'm gonna pick it up as well from the table. Down, and so on and so forth. So yeah. Yeah, there you go. So we got Overcooked-esque thing started up there. I'm not going to go into a lot more of it because obviously we could do a whole 3 hours just doing Overcooked stuff because I like that game a lot. So yeah. Just joining us, welcome to Question Time, where we answer any questions you have regarding games development or Unreal Engine or anything you like at all. We're here for 3 hours, or now 2.5 hours. So just put your questions into chat and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Question. Abstreet B. Hey everyone in chat, how long would you recommend making my first level in my game? It's a boomer shooter and the current speedrun length of level 1 is 3.5 minutes. I mean, there's no real answer to that. Every genre is different. A speed run of level 1 is 3.5 minutes. That should be okay. But yeah, hard to give an exact number without knowing lots more detail because every game is so different. Best thing to do is just look at other games that are in the same sort of category as yours, see how long they roughly take, and then time it against yours. No bots today yet, Tay. Yet. Plate up. Oh, okay, I should try it. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for it. Tay, hey Ryan, can you show how to drop items after you killed an enemy? I can show some of it. I don't want to go into too much because I've got videos on this already. But let's go ahead and show some of that in action. So I'm going to switch over to my third person character here. So let's change this over to a third person character. So I should be back to normal now. Yep. Entai, can you describe what the Vampires Survivors level up system is like? I've never played it before. I've seen it. Can you turn existing place down static meshes into hierarchical instant static meshes? I don't believe so. You have to destroy it and place it down, I think. Okay, so let's do the rarity drop thing. So I need to make an enemy thing that I can bump into and it die. So make another enemy class here. So I'm not going to do a full combat thing. Time for that. Let's just add a guy to here. And we'll say when my character bumps into something, event hit, we'll deal damage to whatever we're hitting. Five. And damage causer, self. Okay. The enemy have a HP value. Float. Event. And we want the damage event. Any damage. Gonna get HP and subtract from HP the damage we've dealt. Set it back to HP. And if this HP is less than or equal to 0, we want them to die. We'll usually make another function for this event. On character death. So on character death here, we need to spawn an item. I'm not going to go through the loot table type thing because I've got videos on that already, so you can check that out yourself later on. So what we need to do is make it drop an item on the floor, essentially. So I'm going to just drop a item class thing. So item, and we'll add a very simple shape to this. Stand out a little bit. I'll save that, and I'll tell my enemy to drop this. So on character death, spawn actor from class, loot item, and the spawn transform will be this actor's location. Get transform. Yeah. Okay. And that's all we have to do here, and then we do destroy actor for the enemy. We'll make our loot item spin as well. Rotating movement component. So let's put that into our scene, make sure our enemy can die. There they are. Okay, and there's their loot. Okay. So I want to make that loot glow a different color based on its rarity. So there's a few ways of doing this. So for example, you could have unique items based upon rarity, or a single item can have multiple rarities inside of itself. So for example, a gem, you pick up a gem in our database, we have one gem actor reference, and then that gem actor could be any of the rarities and make it work for those, or you have separate gems for separate rarities. Up to you how you do that. It does change this a little bit, but yeah. Let's change the color of this based on rarity. So first thing you want to do is probably make a rarity enum. So go to your blueprints, make an enumeration, e rarity, go into there, and we're going to add our various rarities into here. We're going to have uncommon, L, okay, rare, epic, legendary. Okay. Oh, probably. Okay, so let's say our material here can change. So this basic shape material is a very simple material class where you just have color on it. So what I'm going to do is I want to swap this out for an instance version of this. So let's just browse to that. And oh, did that not work? Hold on. That search browse. There you go. Oh, there you go. It's really one there. Instance material. I'm going to drag that onto here. On our item. Basic shape material inst. because this instance has a color. Yeah, we can change. Pardon me. Told you I was tired. I'm gonna get a lot of yawns tonight. So on that color there. Close that now. And loot item here, we can change the color based upon those rarities. Now, there's a few ways of storing the color data if you wish, but you could just hard code it in. Not a problem. Let's go back to content here. The other thing you can do. Oh, this bloody resolution. Hold on. Add. Why are we doing this? Add. There we go. So we can go into materials. No, where is it? User interface, slate brush. Okay. Oh, that slate widget style. Not remember this one at all. Oh, no, that's for widgets. We don't want that. Oh, screw it. We'll just do it ourselves. So in our loot item here, on begin play, you can make it change its color by getting the cube. Get the material instance. Sorry, get dynamic. Create dynamic material instance. Source material is the cube's current material. Oh, come on. And then from there we do set vector parameter value. And what we can do is you can make it easily get a hold of that color by just right clicking switch on enum and outputting that color there. But what we actually do, we'll make something a bit more clever. We'll do a common function library. We'll probably use this multiple places. So make a function library. Open it up, and we're gonna do this one, get rarity color, and the input for this would be the rarity. So the rarity. And the output would be the linear color. Put that color. Okay, and on rarity here, I can drag this out, and I can do switch. Well, actually, I could do select on that. There we are, and then plug the return value into the color here. No, that way around. Okay, so now I can set up the colors. So uncommon is going to be green. Rare will be blue. Epic will be purple. And legendary would be orange. Okay, and I'll make this a pure function. So now my loot item, rather than doing that over and over and over again, I just do get rarity color. And I just put in color value like that. I choose whatever rarity I want. If it would be randomized, you can do that too. Random. Okay, do a random byte. No, actually, can't think I've tried. Random byte. No, random enum. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we just do random int in range to 0 to 3. We do to byte. And then to byte, we can go into here. And so it'll randomize now what item gets spawned in. Put a few in there so we can see it's working. Oh, I didn't apply the Material. Whoops. Put the loot. So once I've done this, I need to set this to the actual mesh. So go, check the mesh out. Set material, and we'll put it in that return value. Yeah. Okay. So push play. Why are you not working? Loot item, event begin play, create demo. Oh, you put the color parameter name. Whoops. Color. So let's take a look at that. So I've got another solution for you, Tay, which you can use this for. What do you mean assigning rarity to stuff? I think it was called color. Yeah, it was called color. Okay. Rarities. So what you're saying is that how would you like probably add it to different things? So you can have enemies, different rarity, items, and so forth. You could probably make an interface or a component probably. So we're going to make a character component and do rarity. You can add that to it, and you could have a variable in it. If you don't want to go through the process of adding other stuff to it like that, you can do. Just do this. Okay, and you can have output the other functions like upgrade rarity and things like that if you wanted to. Whatever you want to work it, you can do. We'll make that editable per spawn as well. And if I go to loot item, I can now add rarity to this thing. And this rarity is going to be, well, I can choose from here now. I can give it a sign to different things if I want. I can maybe make it even randomized by making a tick box saying get random rarity if I want to. Whatever. You can, obviously, we can go into a lot more detail and a lot more depth. But that's the sort of starting point for this. Make it enum, and you can assign it to the thing. And so using the common function library helps because then you can make sure everything's the same. A lot easier to get hold of. You don't have to do the same thing over and over again. This will work for widgets as well. So yeah, really awesome. Elijah's Protagonist. I found node get active class. I use it instead of cast 2. And it doesn't require that bloody object. Oh yeah, don't do that. As Abstree is saying, is get active class is very expensive. It's got to grab all the actors and search for the ones that you're looking for. Casting is not that expensive compared to that. Casting is also again, I'm saying it again, but I'll say it again here, is the point of casting is you're not putting a cast to first. You have an object and you want to cast that object down. So if you've got a reference, like for example get player character gives us a character object reference, and let's say I want to get that into a specific child reference, I need to convert that reference down via a cast. That's the only way to do that. Okay, so make sure that you're using cast correctly, and you should be fine. Contrary to belief, they're not that expensive compared to what people think they are. I think there's a boogeyman to come around and say don't use cast. No, you use cast for the right reasons. You should be okay. Okay, you can avoid it. Don't put it in tick. Tick happens a lot, so you don't want to do it in a tick. Could you please continue the survival game tutorial series? Yeah, it will be continuing. Just had lots on the plate at the moment. It will get there. How would you do the rarity system by percentage? Check out my video on weighted loot tables. I'll give you an answer for that. Hi Ryan, I have two questions. How will you make Euphoria AI with active ragdoll like in GTA and Hexen? And second question, how to implement character creation scene in main menu. So the first question with Euphoria, if you want to get ragdoll systems like that, then you need Euphoria. It's a middleware that you need to have to enable that sort of stuff. It's not something you can easily create overnight. that is something that is going to be quite hefty to do. So yeah. As for the second question, how to implement character creation in a scene in the main menu, that is a horrendously large job for a single session. Yeah, like it would be someone's full-time job. Yeah, for a long time to do character creation. It also depends what kind of character creation you want. You can just swap out pieces if you wish. Swap out heads, swap out hair, swap out color. That's fine. That's pretty simple. But if you want to do something like Fallout, where you can change the bone structure of stuff, that would involve a lot more work. Way too much for just today. What we can do today. Yep, as to Potato, that as said, that's what I do normally. Neo Masaki, any news on FPS RPG front? Is the building system being revamped as well, as I intend to fuse the two? Yes and yes. So as FPS RPG, I've been refreshing it, remaking it from scratch, because I wasn't in a good place of right where I was when I was making it, so I wanted to do it again better and bolder with much cleaner features. So speaking of cleaner features, in that I the other day finished the quest system in it. So that is something I wanted to make sure I got done in a nice tidy manner. I fixed a lot of issues with my original quest system series, and ultimately it came out amazingly well. I really like the quest system. I think it works brilliantly. So you can expect to see that coming soon, hopefully soon. But that'll feed into the FPS RPG project. It's just a matter of redoing that whole entire thing. I'm going to try and build the whole thing first before I make tutorials on it. It's just time. Can you timestamp this stream? Also, yes, I will be. It might take a bit longer because it's 3 hours long, but yes, I will be. Something we're trying to do every week now is to timestamp the streams that we're doing. To make things, as I say, a little bit easier to find it. Hey Ryan, do you back up your project somewhere? Yes, well I used to back up onto my OneDrive. However, I had to stop doing that because where I do so many private one-to-one sessions training people, I record all those sessions for them and store them on my OneDrive. But I've done so many, it's taken up all that space. So I've had to clear out all my projects, put them onto my local drive instead. And yeah, well, I help so many people. I've got something like 400 projects in my Unreal folders. So a lot. I should really clean it out, but it's one of those things I'm scared to delete because you never know when people want stuff or need to go back to and reference it. Yeah. Apo, how would you go about making a 2.5D platformer? Grid style movement like games of old, such as Prince of Persia, Abe's Odyssey, and Blackthorn. So grid movement. So the grid movement. The reason why there's grid movement in those games is because of technology limitations at the time, obviously. I mean, you can do. Yeah, I mean, well, let's 2.5D platformer. Okay. So let's. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Let's answer a couple of quick ones here. Do you use GitHub? I don't, because I've got so many projects I have to be quick on the go, and it's only me working on them. I don't bother with GitHub. If I was working with someone else, I'd be using GitHub or Perforce to handle that. But as it's just me, it's not real much benefit to it. Time for a NAS drive, maybe. Maybe. So Christopher Thompson, how do you create a material parameter that changes the texture? For example, a rock that winter, snow, spring, moss, autumn. So it's basically what you just saw with the loot item. So what I've done here is set vector parameter. Rather than set vector, there's a set texture parameter value. So in your material, you just make sure that you have rather than a color, you have a texture parameter, which is this. Okay, you name it whatever you want and plug that in, and you can swap that in and out however you please. Yeah, so same sort of way. No. Elijah's how to hide some variables to not show on the details panel, like using local variables. Sure. Well, I mean, it depends what you mean. So, for example, if you're in a like loot item here, for example, if I was to add a variable to this, such as like my variable, this is a float, compile, code class defaults. It's going to show there whether you like it or not. Okay, because it belongs to it and it has to see it here. Now you can do things to organize it better, so you can put in categories. You can also make it only shown in advanced section. So for example, I can go to advanced display, tick this, and that now no longer exists in normal place here. Probably doesn't show anywhere actually. I need to make sure it shows. It will show somewhere. There you go. Advanced, my variable down here. But yeah, so you can make it hidden like that. You can also make things, but if you wanted to hide it from other actors, you can make it private. If when you tick private here, I'm going to untick advanced display for a second. You'll still see it up here, but you won't be able to access it or change anything about it in other actors. If you wanted to change something about it, you need to use functions to change it. But yeah, there's no way to really hiding things like that. If you want to hide it from other actors, just tick private. Enter. You level up level up and 3 random item upgrades appear on your screen. You choose one of the upgrades and you gain ability, or your already existing ability gets upgraded onto next tier. Oh gee, that's a lot of work. Okay. So I mean, it's going to be too long to show in today's live stream, because otherwise we'll spend the whole live stream doing it. I don't want to do. I want to give people the chance to get their responses in, but you've got to break it down to its individual components. So this is how I work when I'm trying to solve problems like this: is I'll break it down to what are the challenges that this thing presents. So the first challenge is the leveling up. Make sure I can actually level up first. Okay, number 1, level up system. Make that work. Number 2, when I level up, I need to show a UI on the screen. Next challenge. The third challenge is I need to just show abilities or items, things I want to upgrade. Now, items and abilities will need to be pulled from one single location in order to pick randomly from that location. So there'll probably be some sort of data table involved. That data table will store information about each of those items or abilities, including what they do at various stages. Now, this could also relate to sub items that you have somewhere else, maybe like you have an item array, like a class array, sorry, of different classes for each tier. If it's something that's not just a static value change, but you need basically a pool of these items, things that you can pull from, rather than going from everywhere. You want to go from one location. Once you've got that, you need to then save what those things do, and it works in then like any other ability system or item equipment system, which I've got videos on. You can see that stuff and how it works there. But it's a hell of a lot of work to do. Right, so 2.5D platformer. Let's do that. So the first thing I need to do is I need to take away the 3D movement. Okay, so moving forward, like W and S, I need to turn off. Pretty simple. You just turn off W and S. That off there. W and S, turn off. Okay, and there is my character locked to one thing. Okay. Now, if you want it to curve around and do stuff, fancy stuff like that, you can do. You just need to make sure that you are constraining it to a plane and you have some sort of reference to that plane. I'm not worried about that. Now this guy is set to turn with the mouse, so we need to turn that off. And turn off the mouse as well. So let's go to the mouse input and let's turn off both of these. Okay, so now I can't move the camera and my character is now locked. Now one thing you may want to do is for third person characters in a 2D game is go to your camera boom and change it so that their target offset is a little bit off in front of them. So in the wire here, we're going to change this to like 300. Maybe not that much, 200. Yeah, there we go. And play. So I move right here. I'm on the right hand side of the screen. Push the left. I've done the wrong one. Oh. Target offset. Let's do socket offset. 200. I want it to move with it. I don't think it's actually going to let me do that. Never mind. So what we'd do if to manually make that happen. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Right, we'll start at 200 there. And when I turn, I need to move the camera to the other socket offset. So that would be a smooth transition. So probably will involve some sort of interp going on there. So, tick. And do F interp 2. And we'll do cam offset. Here, float. That. And this will be set to 200 by default. In fact, actually, let's make it, no, cam offset multiplier, we'll call it. But then we can just do -1 and 1 because we're not really changing much else about it. So by default will be 1. So cam offset multiplier would be this multiplied by camera booms get socket transform offset. There you go. And we're going to split that. I could just multiply it by it actually. Right. And split this, and that's now going to be target. The current will be their current socket offset, so just get that. And split this. That'll be there. Delta time, delta port seconds, interp speed, or whatever. Then we set this back into our socket offset. So we're going to take the camera boom. Ooh. Set socket offset. Plug that in. Set this and put that into Y. Okay, so this multiplier is the thing that's going to change, and that's going to change on when we push left or right, and that is going to be the same as our axis value. So take this in, do set, plug that into there. That's gamepad first of all. Well, it doesn't matter. Do here. Okay. So now, change the 200. Yeah, 200. Hang on. Cam offset multiplier 1. Oh, yeah, so wait, I only want to do this if it's 1 or -1 or not 0. So, hang on. Let's sign it then. So, when I get this, I'm going to do the sign of this. I think that's it. No. Returns -1 if A is less than 0. 0 if A is 0. Oh, hold on. Okay. So I need to basically say if moving. Okay. We'll put it on the other side then. And we'll say cam offset multiplier. We'll do it actually at the end here. get right left value from move right left. We'll say if this is not equal to 0, we're going to put that into a branch. And then put it into there. So it should only ever be -1 or 1, never 0. Otherwise you get that issue. Okay. Oh, why are you doing this to me? Let's print string this. Got wrong here. Hang on, what have I missed? Print string here, maybe, and check this here. It should be 1, shouldn't be 0. Yeah, so what's setting it to 0? Oh, it's because I've got it plugged into this gamepad thing. Why? Wait, unplugged from there. Yeah, okay. Right, now it should work. There we go. So as I run, it's onto the right, and when I turn to the left, it should snap to the left. Print string that again. Should be -1, so therefore times 200 should be equal. Oh, rather than just like offset here, I'm gonna just do 200. Oh, that's what I want to do. There we go. That's right. The reason why it's 200 there because it's a fixed value you want it to be from the end, either end, and which way they're going. Left, oh, right, sorry, left. There we go. Okay, so that's a 2.5D platform, I guess. Yeah, and you just do the platforming bits. The camera, obviously, you have to work on like collision of it. If you want to add lag to it, that works quite well as well. You do the camera boom on all spring arms. You can add lag, add camera lag, and you've got lag speed here. So if it is smaller, it should be slower. I think it's right around. Playing. Okay, I mean there's a start of it. Okay. Obviously there's a whole lot more to do, like enemies and things like that, but it should be mostly the same what you're currently doing. It's just that you're doing line traces from the character, not the camera. Please explain when we should use expose and spawn and variables. Okay, so expose and spawn should be used when you want to set a value at the creation of an actor. So for example, loot item here. I'm going to go to, on this guy, is my variable. I'm going to tick on instance editable and expose and spawn. You can't do just expose and spawn, you have to make sure you've got editable as well. And what that means is when I do spawn actor now. Oh, wrong one. And choose this loot item. It means I can set crash this. There you go. I can set that value at the birth of the item. Okay, so I can set those values up as it is being created and spawned into the world. So it can be useful for a very lot of things. Very lot of things. That's not English. That'll do though. Next question. Low Spill Studio, can you make a tutorial on how to create complex suspension for vehicles? I mean real complex suspension, for example for motorcycle, where parts of suspension moving dependent on movement on the ground. Okay, so there is a suspension stuff in here. When you make vehicle actors, you see this for in action in a vehicle template. But if you were to go in here, vehicle extrude. So we make a pawn. When you add vehicle component, spell it. No, what is it? I think you should actually bring in the actual vehicle. If you start with the actual vehicle template, it comes with a vehicle movement component, and in there you got the suspension settings. Take a look at it. It should be pretty simple to go from there. A hexagonal grid. Okay. Abstree, how do you learn all this? All self-taught. Self-taught, just using it a lot. So for hexagonal grid, you do need some sort of mesh to do it. The reason why you need a mesh to do it is because if you do it with like widgets, it doesn't really work because you can't do hexagonal buttons. You can't do different shaped buttons. So you do have to work in a actual mesh. But if you're looking like a Civ game, chances are you're using meshes anyway, because that's what they are, like the little pieces, aren't they? Like Catan. So yeah, we just need to make a hex grid bit. Open class. So hex grid space. And in here, mesh. I don't think it actually just has hexagon. It does not. That's fine. We can make one. I'll show you how to make a polygon. So in here, you can go to can modeling tool. I mean, you probably can, but there's a quicker way. If you go back to select and go to place actors panel, and go to the geometry node, you go to the cylinder. Notice the cylinder is kind of octagonal. You can actually change that. So go over to detail side and change number of sides here to 6. Now we've got hex grid shape, and then it's just a matter of scaling it to exactly what you want. So outer radius here we'll do 100, and height in the Z we'll do 20. There's my hex grid piece. So I then want to turn that into a mesh. So if you scroll down in here, you'll find sometimes you have to click off it, get back on it. It's weird like that. Go down. Should see a button somewhere. Advanced, maybe? Yeah. No. Taking this out. Advanced. Oh no, there it is. So it's in the brush settings, advanced, create static mesh. Did I ask you to save it? And we'll do X grid. And I'll put it there. Okay, I can delete that. And we now got a hex grid static mesh over here. Okay. Collision wires. This probably doesn't have any collision on it when you first make it. Nope. So you got no collision on it. So you do need to make your own collision for it. Now hex grids, you need to make sure that you are using a good accurate shape to this. Now you notice there's no add hex grid to this. You may be able to get away with 10 dop in the Z. No, it's not. See, it doesn't line up perfectly, but that's fine. We can get away with it by using box collisions. So in boxes, put that in, and we're going to rotate it around 30 degrees. Bring scale off. Bring that in like this. and then tuck it in that. Okay, and then I can duplicate this, which we can Control C and Control V, I think. Nope, can't do that. Fine. Yeah, I can't. Okay, so we go to collision, add another box to it, and this one would be 30 degrees this way. What do you want to do? Okay, and one more. Okay, so now we've got a fully collidable hex grid. So on this hex grid, we're going to choose our hex mesh. It is, and if you want to interact with it because of its shape, do you know C++ as well? I do. Yeah, I haven't done it for a long time, but yeah, I do. I can read it okay. I'll struggle writing it now, I think, but I have to go back and like refresh myself with it. What's your estimated release date for Project Mimic? Late 2023, 2024. Early access / Kickstarter type thing by this time next year, and then a full release 6 to 8 months after that, maybe. But we'll obviously see how the year takes me. Life likes to throw stuff at you. Okay, so to select this, I want to make a. Let's make a thing. Let's make a Niagara system effect on this. So create empty system. Finish. And in here, we're going to add emitter, empty emitter, and I'm going to use this texture, the ball shape one, but I'm going to make it like a flat disc on top of it so you can see highlighting, and we'll make it do stuff. You can make it do all sorts of things. So we'll do that, and then I want to say on sprite renderer, go to alignment and do custom alignment. Then we go down to hang on, let me change it so you can see it. So spawn, add a spawn, not per unit. On update, we'll do spawn rate to 1. Yeah, so anyway, they lock the camera. So I'm going to use a custom alignment, and we're going to go down to sprite alignment down here and change this. So rather than using this, we're going to use a custom user variable, which I can do over here on this blue node. New here, new vector, and if I click on this, I should see new vector down here. Okay, I can just rename this one custom alignment, and I could put in, I think it's 1 in the Z I want. I'll double check that. But then I go back to my emitter here, go down to the sprite renderer, down to sprite alignment, and change that to my custom alignment there. So now you see it's locked down. That's aligned now to my Z, so I need to change that to Z. And instead, alignment in the X. Let's see what that does. No, that's rolling it around. Now, why? Did the last one I try? Oh wait, that's not alignment I want. It's facing. Oops, my bad. Unaligned, facing, custom facing vector, and then this should be Z. Why ain't it working? Oh, I didn't put it down here. Custom face sprite facing. There we go. Looking like that. Okay, so with that done, I'm now going to add another emitter. I should make a new empty one. And image to update, we're going to add a spawn rate of say 20 seconds. Initialize particle, we're going to go down to sprite size to uniform, and we're going to spawn this in a circle around the edges here. So on particle spawn here, I'm going to do location, and we're going to do shape location, and that's sphere by default. I'm going to change that from sphere to cylinder, or to ring disc. That'd be fine. Circle, and I'm going to change it to the size of this roughly. Change that down. See, let's just increase the size of this other one actually. Yeah, sprite particle size, sprite size uniform, and we'll do 100. There we go. So yeah, I want the ones around the edges to fly up. So initialize particle spawn, add velocity, and I'm going to fix the issue by solving forces and velocity, and then we've got a ring of them coming out of the. Okay. Next, I'm making fade out. So we're going to go to particle update, do color, and we're going to change this to be a curve, and that now will fade out. Oh. First particle, let's change the lifespan of this down from 5 to 3. And we'll change the spawn rate from 20 to 50. Okay, that'll do. Obviously, you can just go on for much longer you want. Okay, so with the grid selected, I need to add on here a selection thing actor. Selection actor, and this could be having that Niagara effect. And I want to spawn this thing on anything I click on. Okay, so I need to tell my player controller that this thing exists as well. But we need to make a custom player controller for this exact thing, because the default player controller does not support actors being clicked on. So you do need to make your own one. My player controller. Open it up, and you tick on enable click events. Now enable me to call the event actor clicked. Okay, which I can then tell my controller here to do something. My controller here is going to custom event. We'll call it select grid space, and I'm going to create selection. Create spawn actor. Give me, and we're going to choose the selector and actor. And the spawn space is going to be coming from the transform here, and that's going to come from the grid space we want in particular. So on here, inputs will be grid space, and that will refer to a hex grid space. And I want to get hold of the transform of that. Get transform factor, place it in there. Okay, and we can promote it to a variable. We call it selection. But I only want to do this if I don't really have a section actor. So I don't want to see multiple of these spawning everywhere. I just want to have just one that I'll move around if it does exist. So at the start of here, we're going to do selection actor, get, convert the validated get. If it's not valid, we're going to create one. If it is valid, I just want to move it. So I'm going to do selection actor. Oh, actually, I could do it from here actually. Set actor transform, and that'll be same transform there. Okay, so back in my hex grid space, and I'll do unclicked. I'm going to get player controller. Pass to my player controller and do select grid space. Plug that in. Grid space will be self, so we know which grid we're selecting. All I have to do now is make it so my game is using this controller. So world settings, default player controller class, my player controller. Let's add a few hex grids in here. Well, oh, it's okay. Lining these things up probably be a bit smarter way of doing it, but not smart nor have the energy to do so. I'm just going to line them up manually. Like that. That's not a bad job. Seems that snapping has helped out great. Once I've got a load in, I can just bring that in. I've got a little bit of clipping. Maybe I can just spray them out a little. Okay, mathematically you need to work it out. Oh, I need to also make my controller so I can see the mouse. Player controller. New, go to class defaults and show mouse cursor. Yep. And hit on here. Now I've selected this one here. From this one, I've selected this one, that one, Obviously, you can make the mesh change, materials change, whatever you like. I've just shown a particle system, but you can literally do whatever you want to select those grid pieces and do whatever you want with them. Okay. But yeah, there you go. Thanks for becoming a new member, Archer. Reacher. Reacher? Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Thank you for becoming a new member. Very much appreciated. Okay, next up we've got how do you design optimized rain with collision? Sure. Let's make rain. Let's change my player capture not to be 2D. Hang on. In. Take this out. Okay. I think that's right now. Nope. Got the offset still on there. Boom. Turn that off. Can't move it. Can't move it. Form control rotation. Oh yeah, I've got... Right, rain. So that's a Niagara system. Let's do that. Empty system, finish. And we'll do rain. And in here, we're gonna make first of all the droplets. We'll make them droplets so when they hit something, they'll splash and disintegrate. We'll do that as well. But first, we have to actually make the individual droplets. So first, I need to make a shape for my raindrops. But actually, I'm just going to use this simple at the moment. Add emitter, empty, and the sprite that you have in here by default should be fine. Use that for now. I'm just going to duplicate this, and let's just move that into. Move that into my content folder because this is all part of the engine. Move there. It is. Okay, and make it more rain-like. Now to make it more rain-like, what we have to do is take the refraction up, and obviously the color won't be there anymore. So particle color, emissive output, turn it off, and the refraction. Can't You actually may want to add some lighting to it, some color to it, maybe. Think about it. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, so we don't want basically look like this. But I only want it to take into account of that circle bit. So the opacity is going to be multiplied by this refraction. Interesting effects going on there. Take up the emissive color. Yeah. Why is it only doing? Nah. What? I guess because it is using a large amount of the shape, I guess. Yeah, why the opacity of it isn't. Like on the corners, you see where it's like fracturing up here. I've got some Niagara tutorials out there. Obviously we're about to do this now. Figure out why it's not. Like if I put in 0, right, isn't it? Oh, I don't want 0 then. I want 1. I take it. Yeah, I want 1. Okay, that's why. The multiply here, I want to do pick the maximum number. There we go. 1. Yeah. So I pick the highest value basically. So this picks the whatever one's bigger. So this one is bigger most of the time for the middle, whereas the other side is 0. Therefore, it pick 1 instead. Okay, right. So that's my water droplet roughly. Obviously, you can make a better shape. Okay. Let's make it rain. So on the rain here, we're going to add our material to it. And this will be default sprite material 1. And we're going to go to emitter update. Emitter update is where the spawning happens. So you want to go into the add button here and do spawn rate. So it's constantly spawning. And this will be a large number. Niagara can handle a large amount of particles, so don't be scared of a high number. But start relatively low and work your way up. So let's start with 1,000. Okay, so I'm going to spawn 1,000 of these in. Now at the moment they're just spawning on top of each other over here and sort of blocking out this whole entire space here. But I need them to spawn in a grid and fall down. Let's make them fall down first of all, and that's going to happen on the particle update using gravity. And when you add this, because it's using forces and physics things like that, you do get this warning saying, hey, you need something in order for this to work. You need soul forces and velocity. So we're going to add new dependency, soul forces and velocity. Okay. Now this might be very hard to see, so I might need to make this colorful a little bit. Let me just put the emission back. Okay, so you got loads of them spawning and falling down all at once. Okay, obviously you don't want them to fall in one line. We want them to just fall all over the place. So we're going to go to particle spawn, and we're going to change here location, and we're going to choose shape location. And over here you get a different shape location primitive you want to use. We've got sphere, cylinder, box or plane, torus, ring or disc, or cone. We want box or plane. And with box size, it'll be quite large, so we're going to do 1,000 by 1,000 by 20. And we now got rain happening here. Obviously, we've got the white color on there. Let's take that white off now and see if we can see it now. If not, we'll just dye it down a little bit so we can still see it. So I can see it, but you guys probably can't. There's like loads of little things going on. So let's just make that a little bit different color. Put it back in. Fun fact, to make rain show on film, they used to add milk to it, or make it just run milk instead. So fun little fact, because it wouldn't show up on camera, which is our problem we got here. So we need to add a little bit of color to this one. So we go particle spawn color, and we're going to change that down to like a bluish sort of color there. And the alpha of this, we're going to make 0.25, maybe 0.2. Yeah. And we're also going to make it so that they are different, smaller sizes and round, because these are quite big. So initialize particle, you have sprite size mode, and here you can change what kind of size you want. But uniform, random uniform, non-uniform, or random non-uniform. Uniform and non-uniform differ in that uniform it's the same width and height it has. So if its width is 5, its height is 5. But non-uniform will stretch out a little bit. So I'm going to do, let's do non-uniform. And we're now going to do a bit stretched out in the Y a little bit. So Y, I'm going to change that down to 20. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, too bad. I'm also going to make them start a little bit higher probably. So on the emitter, which is this thing here, we go to its properties. No, not its properties. Where would it be? Emitter state. Oh yeah, up here. Position spawn. Position offset. Click on this and add it to the Z. 1,000. Let it spawn up in the air by 1,000. Okay. So now it's got this rain effect going on. Now these things last for 5 seconds, which is a hell of a long time. It's never going to last that long. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit too. So lifetime, turn it down to like maybe like 1. Too short because you're not hitting the floor in time. Let's change that down to then 3. Perfect. Okay, so if I put that in my scene, you can see what that looks like. So rain, was this the rain one? No, that's not the rain one. Rain, there we go. Okay, there's my rain. Now rain at the moment, like this, yeah, very cartoonish, but it allows you to see it a little bit better on the stream, I guess. If you want it to bounce around and hit stuff, you can go to its particle system, and on its particle update, we're going to add on here collision. So you're going to have collision turned on, and that is it. Hit save, and this will now bounce off stuff. You see it all bouncing around. Obviously, got a bit of a bounce to it, but you can see them bouncing off of stuff. Okay. And if I were to drag this through, you can see it affecting other particles. Okay, so bounce works, but we don't want it to bounce. So what I want it to do, or maybe it bounce a little bit. So if we go up to down here to collision, and we go down to restitution, which is bounciness, 0.6, that's too much. I'm just put it down to 0.1. And also going to randomize the collision vector a little bit. So it can land awkwardly. You get this sort of thing. Okay. But we want it to also have a chance for it to just destroy these things when they land as well. So we don't want them just hovering on the floor all the time. Otherwise it was like hailstones, I guess. So let's go back to rain there. And we go to particle update, and we'll do kill particle. And kill particles is obviously just a tick box, which we don't want to just tick because otherwise it just destroy them as soon as they're created. So what we actually want to do is click on this little button down here, and over here we should type in collision, and we should see in here has collided as an option. So if they collide with something, they'll be killed by it. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to make it like a shelter, can do. We just add in. You can make it so it only rains outdoors, for example. Okay. It is raining only outdoors now. Okay. So that is how you do stuff like that. Now to make it do the splash effect, I'm going to go back to the rain, and we're going to make a single splash effect. Okay. So I'm going to turn that off for now. Make another emitter. And we do. Actually, I'm going to take this fountain one here, but I'm going to change it so it's not going to be a spawn rate, but it's going to be a spawn burst. So I'm going to turn off spawn rate. Go to emitter update here and do spawn burst, and what this does, it will fire off as many as I put in there all at once. The spawn count here, I'm going to change that down to, or change it up, sorry, to like say 50. Maybe too much. Let's do 10. Okay, and let's go to its velocity and turn it down to, so I'm going to go into minimum and maximum. We'll change that down to 200 and 350. Okay, so little splashes going on over here. Then I could do collision again, make it sure it kills on collide. So on particle update, we have collision, and we can do kill particle. And kill particles would be based on whether it's been collided. Has collided. So that's what one looks like. Okay. Push, push, that. But I want it to spawn at the location of where these things get killed. So I'm going to turn that on and turn this one here to not do any spawn burst for now. Not for now. And instead, I want to, on this one, generate a event for when they die. So go to particle update, and we'll do generate death event. So when they die, this gets triggered, and it will fire off. It's enabled over here. And over on this one, we go to add stage and choose event handler. In our event handler, we can choose what source we want to use, and we have to compile it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, when you use these things, you need persistent IDs. So to do that, you go to the properties of it, and you just tick on requires persistent ID. Turn it on. That should stop that from doing that. You'll get errors on here, but they clear as soon as you touch them. Okay, so on here, add stage. No stage, sorry, we already got it here. We're going to click on this and choose our death event. This refers to this death event over here. So when they do that, we're going to do max events per frame. So how many of these things can happen at once? So I've got 1,000 of these raindrops spawning, so I can just go into here and change that to 1,000. Execution mode, I'm going to change that to every spawned particle. And the spawn number is how many of these things I'm going to spawn. So similar to the spawn burst, basically. I'm going to change that down to up to 10. And there you go, that's happening now. But I wanted these to spawn in the location where the things are colliding with the floor. Obviously not 0, 0. So to do that, you go down to event handler properties and add a new one here. And you're going to do receive death event. And when you receive death event, you're going to see you get all these things out here. And one of them is position. And we'll see we're applying the position here. So it's going to take that and spawn our splashes where our things go. So, did I compile it? File, save. Yeah, that's right. Apply. If we went into particle position, yeah, apply. Output. Yeah, apply. Cool. Yeah. Save. Why is it not triggering? Different. Should be it. Different. Oh, turn kill particles, maybe. Oh no, no, I won't kill particles. Maybe they're just colliding with the floor too much. Let's turn off kill particles for now. Oh, there we go. They were just killing the particles too. Let's just change their lifespan here. So lifetime, I'll change that to 0.4 and 0.75. Okay. So now, are you going to work? Please work. Working over here in the preview, so compile maybe. That should be it. It's working over here. So that looks really nice like that. So why is it not coming up here? Save. Weird. How can it work here but not in the world? I'm gonna turn off collision on these as well. In case they're causing other weird issues like that as well. Archaeologist, do you know if is it required to send release form to Epic for early access game on Steam? No, you don't have to do anything like that. Also, is it required to add Steam logo and or Unreal logo to a game? You don't have to add a Steam logo because it's just a platform that you're on. You can totally okay. Unreal do ask if you could put the Unreal logo in it. It does help and it's no trouble at all. They give you, by the way, you can download it already. All the videos they show at the start of games, but it flashes the Unreal logo. You can get all that already from them for free. So, yeah. Why are we not splashing, people? Should I spawn and attach rain particles to all players in the session, or pre-attach the rain to a character and activate it when the rain starts to rain? I could do either, really. I personally just stick it to the character and on their camera, because if it's everywhere, it can be a bit too much. They can probably just attach it to the camera. So, for example, rather than doing this here, I'll go to the player character, and on the camera here. Not camera, on the capsule here, add Niagara system, choose the rain, it is, and just move it a little bit in between the camera and the thing. I usually find that this works just fine. You may have to change the size of the grid to not do this lag thing that I've done. Do where if you have got lag, change the size of it a bit bigger. I'd probably recommend anyway. Bye. Self lag. I don't know why the splashes aren't happening though. Oh, yeah, so the reason why it was lagging behind, also I forgot to do, is turn on local space. So on this rain, go to properties and turn on local space. So if you are doing that and you're dragging it on top of the player character, just leave it as local space. And it will now move with them as they run through the level. Apart from when they hit glidable areas like this. So yeah, that is a way of doing it. But you can also just place it into the level. Problem. But I don't know why the splashes aren't happening. Death event, yeah. Kill particles. Yeah. Yes, it's triggering a death event. Let me turn off the receive death event. Do these all spawn in the same location in here? Oh, wait, there's a source. Hey. There we go. Right, so why is it doing that? Okay, so that's obviously spawning in the same location, 0, 0, 0. So why the hell? Look at it. Anywhere else? Any splashes? Are we getting some weird location stuff? Up there. They are getting killed, not going through the floor. Don't know. Change the system maybe. So confused. That's what we should see. This sort of thing at the bottom. See this? Give me a sec. I need to think while we answer some more questions. I'm good, thank you, Chris. Hey Ryan, how do you replicate an upwards moving platform so both players remain on it while it's moving? Good question. The problem that obviously this has is that there's going to be a slight desync, and that's what people, if you're wondering why this is more pragmatic than normal, is there going to be a slight desync. That means that the server's going to move your character up in the air a bit more than you are, and so you get some stuttering and stuff going on. So I'd have to experiment with that one. And like force it to add latency to it and see how it works with latency. But yeah, might be a thing. The easiest, I don't know. So the easiest thing would be to make it fixed. It's always going on and off. But I'll have a look and have a think. I'm not too sure about that one. I think that's one I'll have to play around with until I get it. Thanks, Jamie, for becoming a Patreon. Very much appreciated. Hi, Ryan. Can you make a tutorial of boss mechanics? Yeah, which boss mechanics would you like? Loads of them. Why does post-process effects not work when attached to the player controller on 427? Why are you attaching it to the player controller? Attach it to the camera. Camera here. Your camera will have post-process settings in it. Down here. Attach it to the camera. Yeah, the delay you won't notice the delay whilst developing it unless you add latency to it. The latency will cause it to have a slight stutter, I think. I need the post-process to work on all possessed pawns. In other words, like, okay, so your pawn, your possessed pawn, because you can only see it through your point of view. You can't see post-processing through anyone else's point of view. You can only see your one. So yeah, you just put it on your character. You just say like on here. No, where are we? Here. You just do a simple check at the start if you want, and say like, is possessed by, or enable, disable post-processing options. So post-processing, for example, you can just turn off and on things. Hold on. Post-process blend weight. There you go. Change it to 0. Turn off and on. So the post-process only works on cameras, not controllers. So it has to go on the camera. Either be on the camera itself directly here, or as a volume that your camera's inside of. That's the only way a post-process works. How do you make the third-person camera not super bumpy when going upstairs, other than camera lag and making the stairs a slope? They're the two main solutions to that problem. Yeah, and they're the ways I would do it. I can't even think of another way of doing it off the top of my head. There may well be, but I can't think of one right now. But yeah, those two are the solution, really. Rusty. If I want to make a game where I can switch on the fly from third person to RTS game mechanics to FPS, how to go about that? Oh, you're looking for a lot of work, by the way. But essentially, all your characters already in the field are pawns, so you could just tell your character to possess them and make them all have a camera on it, or make a camera that goes onto them. Yeah, but you are looking at a lot of work because that's going to change like UI controls. But yeah, you'll have to keep track of the other one, the other camera that's up here doing the RTS stuff. Then go back to and fro from there. Is it doable? I would assume so. Well, anything's doable with enough creativity. Yeah. It's tricky, but yeah, doable, I'm sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can also make the camera not be attached to the character, for example. Make the camera a separate thing. Well, how to transition using the mouse wheel, third person to first person camera. Sure, let's go through that. Hang on 1 second. So, thing what we're doing here, let's get rid of this rain for now. I'll keep thinking about that. Why it's not colliding. Okay, so you got a camera boom here. So the distance of this boom is determined by the target arm length. So as I scroll in and out, I'm changing this arm length. So let's go to event graph, mouse wheel, axis event, camera boom, set target arm length, and this is going to take the camera boom's current arm length. No. And we're going to subtract. Let's subtract. Can't recall which number goes where. If not, we just invert it. It's not a problem. So that'll go into there, and that'll go to that. Okay, so that's how we do the simple scrolling aspect. And that's not going to the first person point of view. Might be pretty close. So if I do this and scroll, I need to multiply the value to see it's quite small. Like that. So we do multiplied by let's do 5. Let's see what 5 does. That's still a bit too much. Also, we're going to go to his bum because that's where the spring arm's attached to. 250. Okay. As you can see, you can get into first person. We do need to clamp the target arm length though. Just notice there. So when we doing this, we're going to clamp float from 0 400. Okay. So as you can see, the camera boom is attached to his bum. Okay. So you can offset that with the socket offset, obviously, to get more like a third person point of view. So 50-50, the Y and the Z, and you get more of a third person point of view when you start the game. But when you zoom in, it's just going to go in like this, okay, which is not what you want. So we need to also change the socket offset based upon how far we're zoomed in. So in here, we're going to lerp socket offset. So we do lerp vector, and we'll lerp the alpha is going to be the target arm length normalized. So take this and normalize to range. Normalize to range. There we go. And the range is from 0 to 400 because that's the maximum. That's currently set on there. And that's going to return a value based between whereabouts as a percentage does it sit between those two values. So for example, if the total arm length is 200, the result will be 0.5. So that'll come through that. And then we want to use that into the alpha. So if that's 1, that must mean that we're at 400 away. That means I want B here, which is 1, to be set to 50, 50. Okay. Whereas I want to be 0, 0. So then I'm going to do get my camera boom out here and do set socket offset. Plug that into there. And that is now going to not just zoom in, but also adjust the camera so it kind of curves into the back of their forehead a little bit. So if I zoom in, to their bum at least, I might have to change the offset obviously from 0, 0. Let's go into the head. So let's change that from, I'll keep X and Y 0, but Z here we'll do is 80. Okay, and we're going to go. Okay, and we're now in first person. So let me just fix my controller. I'll just use the default one. Yeah, so in here, zoom in into the back of the head, and now I can move around. Now the problem is when I'm going to first person like this is that I can move left and right and things like that, but my character's body will face a different way. So you can see their feet are facing this way. I can turn the head freely. That is because of the nature of the camera being separated from the body. So when you go into first person point of view, you do need to turn on a setting. So we'll talk it offset over here. We want to basically tell it to change this setting. Use controller rotation yaw. So if it is at 0 or close to 0, we want that to be ticked on. Okay. So in here we'll do get arm length, get arm length, and we'll do is nearly equal to 0 with a tolerance of, let's say, 5. Yeah, so quite a decent tolerance there. And with that in the case, I want to set use control rotation yaw to that boolean. So this will now change the controls from feeling like a third person game into more of a first person game. Okay, and as you can see, my feet follow wherever I'm looking. Okay, round, out, back in. But if I was about here, obviously still in third person, just grab third person. I can move in here better. Okay, so there is an easy way of doing it. I'll recap that code. So on the wheel axis here, we are taking the axis value, which is how much the distance the wheel has moved in each turn, and we multiply it by 15 because the value is quite small, so we're going to boost it way up, and then we're going to take that away from the current target arm length, which starts at 400 here. We then clamp it between 0 and 400 because we don't go either way beyond that, and then we're setting it back to target arm length. Camera boom. So it's adjusting its actual. But then normalizing that to a range of 0 to 400 to work out as a percentage, basically, whereabouts is it sitting between that line. And with that in mind, take that as a lerping point between one location and another for that socket offset. So the camera goes from being over the shoulder into more of a first person point of view. So a little bit neater way of doing that. And at the end here, we're doing a check to make sure, well, checking first of all that our target arm length is nearly equal to 0. Now, if that is the case, it means we're in first person point of view. And when you're in first person, you want to tick on use control rotation yaw. This is a setting that's on by default. So if you're making a first person shooter, don't worry, you don't have to worry about this. If you're taking in a third person character, third person game, you do need to make sure that that is turned off. Okay. But there you go. Okay, how are we doing for time? It is now 10 past 11 in the evening, my time. That means we've got 50 minutes left. Okay, so chuck in a few questions in there and we'll try and answer some as we're going through that. Gabrielis, Ryan, cheers to a 5-year anniversary. How was your journey doing this full time? So yeah, this has been over a year, over a year now doing this full time. It's been really rewarding, and also really hard as well. I'm doing crazy hours, working all sorts of amount each week. But it has been very rewarding. It's been the right decision to make so far. Touch wood. So fingers crossed it keeps on growing strength to strength, and we can take this further. This is something I do want to take further. I don't want to just settle where we're at and just keep it at that steady pace. I do want to grow eventually into a bigger thing, and bigger. And that's where all your support helps with subscriptions, memberships, and Patreon things, all that stuff. It really does help out to grow this. It's allowed me to hire an editor to edit videos. One thing I'd like to do as a stretch goal for Patreon is to eventually be able to hire on part-time, at least anyway, some artists, so 3D artists, to make 3D models for you guys to use freely as part of the Patreon subscription, and also to be used as part of the tutorials as well. We'll see how that goes over the next year or so. It has to be enough to financially make sense, obviously, depending on how much artists charge, but see what we can do. Apo, how would you make a character get pushed with a car when it's traveling at slow speeds without the ragdolling? Good question, because characters don't move unless you tell them to. If you want to be pushed by something, you need to apply physics to it. Now that means when you get hit, you need to apply physics to the capsule, but lock the capsule down. So the capsule here, so you want to do it to the capsule, not the mesh. But the capsule here, you want to, when you get hit, you want to turn it on, so it can be pushed by it. So if you go over to this physics, let's simulate physics on hit, and then you want to lock it down. So there you'll find constraints as well. Lock its rotation especially. You do not want it to roll around. So tick all those boxes there, X, Y, and Z, so it doesn't roll around 3D. You just want it to move laterally. So tick it on for a certain amount of time, and then lock that position down, X, Y, Z. Then try that out. Which Spotify channel do you listen to while broadcasting your tunes? So the live streams are using playlists by Harris Heller, who is from Senpai Gaming, and he does a load of royalty-based tracks that you can use for streams at no cost. So it's nice and easy to use. It's a guaranteed thing that's not going to demonetize your video. It saves a lot of time. Yeah. How do you use WASD or controller to select on a widget instead of a mouse? So it's already set up for a lot of that already by default, but if you want to go into a lot more detail about that, that's a hell of a lot of work. Do check out some of my widget tutorials. I do cover a lot of it in there, especially the tabs one, gamepad UI series as well. It's good for that. It gives you some ideas of how to navigate that. It does have to be super organized in order for it to work, though. A heads up on that one. Elijah's, is it never too late to turn single player into multiplayer? It's never too late. It's just a lot more work. It's a lot harder to take a full game and make it multiplayer than, say, develop it as you go. It's just going to create tons of bugs as you're doing it. But it's an absolute nightmare. Apo, is it possible to set the velocity on the movement component instead, because I can't lock rotation because of the swimming? When you're swimming, your capsule shouldn't be horizontal, by the way. I guess you could do, but it shouldn't be. But anyway, you can change this constraint at any point. You don't have to do it fixed in here. You just drag out the capsule component. Ooh. Up in constraints. There we go. Set constraint mode. Change it to custom. Default. And then you want to lock. Here's a way of doing it. No, I swear there was a way of doing it. Maybe there's not. Maybe I think of the modes only. But yeah, when you're swimming, you should keep the capsule vertical. Don't rotate it around. You want to avoid turning the capsule as much as possible, really. Can't set the velocity on the movement component because the velocity is. I guess you could do. You can also launch the character, but then that's going to get stopped by friction. There's lots of little things you can try and do. You can use separate braking friction if you want to. Don't want the head clipping in. Yeah, so that's the issue you're finding when it's horizontal because you don't want the head clipping in. Yeah, the character class isn't designed to be horizontal, so you do need to make your own sort of collision system for this. Now I often use like line traces based on the velocity you're going in. Work out if there's anything in your way as you're about to head in that direction. If there is, it'll stop you from moving in that direction. So yeah, if you just get your input vector. Get last input movement input vector. This no. Get input vector. Get pending movement in vector. There you go. And so that'll go on the over here in the move up forward and backwards. You have this get pending movement vector, and that will look at your last input vector that you tried going in, and you check that against you basically do a line trace based upon that direction to see if there's something blocking you. You turn it off. I did it in the stealth series, I think. I did it in that, so you can check that out. How do you get a controller to hook up to Unreal? You have one that works on Steam and everywhere else, but not Unreal. It should just work. You just plug and go. What kind of controller is it? But yeah, you just plug in and go. Hey Ryan, did you buy the Steam plugin for Unreal? Would you recommend it for putting my game on Steam? I haven't bought that plugin. It does give you lots of cool little features that you don't have access to in the default engine, so it could be worthwhile. Especially for things like matchmaking things, it does add a lot of stuff like that to it, and lots of social stuff too. So it could be well worth it if you're going into that sort of area. My question is, would you be able to show how you would go about making an inventory, search box and filter? Yeah, sure. Essentially, it's not too difficult. You have an array of all the things. No, sorry. So, I mean, I don't want to go through making the whole entire thing for it. So, sorry, tiredness. You want to, let's say you've got a data table with all these things, okay? Eventually you're gonna get like get data table row names, for example. Okay, and you will find a particular one in that row name there. So in here, do a for each loop, and actually, no, I'll put it on a widget so you can see how it works with. Okay, and in there you'll have like a text box entry. So in this text box where your player's typing in, you have a function, the event that gets fired off as they're typing into it. Yep, so with it selected, if you go down here, you'll see on text changed. Click on that, and here's your text you've got. So then you take that table row names here, and each one you may want to like store this as a variable first and foremost. Like you may want to do. Oh my god. On construct, promote that to a variable. So you got the row names already prepared, like that. And then as you go through them, you check to see if they contain this text here. So to string, and this to string, and we'll say, does this contain this substring? It does. Then you're outputting this one to an array. Okay. Then you're doing a filtered array. Filtered. Array. Dragging that out. Then get, and then add unique to it. Be this one. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so you just do that, and at the end of it, you'll have a filtered array out here, which you can return, do what you want with it, go find the actual data table rows, change the list of inventory items you have, but you essentially have this set up here where you're searching the strings of these. Achievements. No, achievements are in there. I haven't tested it, but it should work. Achievements. Elijah's, if you have two chests on each other, we should use ray tracing to interact with them because box vision don't. I assume you're talking about multiplayer. In which case, yes, you should be using ray tracing anyway. Line tracing. That's for local achievements, not Steam though. Well, what do you mean by local achievements? There are no local achievements. It would be pretty certain it gets whatever platform you want because you do achievements here. It might actually just be it. It's either yes or it could be just mobile. Just mobile. Hang on, let me have a look. Yeah, so this one show platforms, but this one's only for iOS or Android. So are these the same? It just says default online subsystem, so that's could be Steam. So it should work with Steam ones. No, it's not. No, because in here you have write achievement progress, and you put in. No. What one is it? Cached. Cache achievement. Yeah, so it's getting the online subsystem. It's seeing the default online subsystem thing. It should get that from there. I haven't tested it. It should do. Um, um, Last question. What was the best way to set up attack rate speed for your character? I have an attack rate stat for my character that the player can add 0.2 and can you help me? Does that stat also affect the animation? Like, does it change the speed of the animation as well? I assume it does. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so how are you doing damage on your character as well? Are you attaching damage to the actual animation as well using damage notifiers or doing something completely different? Quifenir. Hey Ryan, thanks a bunch for all the vids you made. They help a lot. I was wondering if you would have some major tips about what definitely should be kept in mind to keep increased performance in games. The main thing that it decreases performance in games is all about rendering. So if you're going to have high res textures, tons of particles, tons of transparencies, things of that nature, that's when you'll notice performance dips. This is also true of like texture calls. How many textures are being called into frame for every single actor? That also matters. But my advice with optimization is always the same. Don't worry about optimization until you get towards the game being near complete. Otherwise, the problem you find is that you find yourself forever trying to optimize a game and never actually finishing it. And I promise you'll never finish that game if you do it that way around. So make the game first, then optimize it. Okay, that's where you start cutting things out. This is why in demos, for example, games look better because they aren't developing optimized right now. They're just developing for a demo purpose, and then later on they'll bring down demo features to make it more optimized for the platforms. Yes, notify. Well, if you use a notifier, the attack is going to happen quicker because the animation is quicker. So if you use a damage notifier, yeah. Ashton P, do not have achievements in Fireteam. Not yet. I've designed them. I've not yet to hook them into the game. That's planned on the drawboard for launch version, along with the raids and the extra modes and modifiers. Oh dear me. How are we all doing? Any more questions hanging about? Anything else to talk? I've been enjoying my Steam Deck lately. Been playing Resident Evil 2 on it, and it's been pretty damn good. The game and the deck. Abstry, when do you plan on having a launch version of Fireteam out? I plan on making a video how to collect the achievements to Steam. So the plan is to make a video about everything in Fireteam. So if there's achievements in it, you'll get a video about how achievements in. So that's definitely going to be in there if that makes it in. As for the plan for when it should be out, well, it depends heavily on workload and things. But I hope early next year. We'll see. But as I say, life likes to get in the way sometimes. Lottie, how did you first get into Unreal and how long have you been working with it? So I've been a teacher in games development for over 10 years, working at a normal brick and mortar college and university for most of that. And obviously didn't use Unreal for the whole entire thing. I was only using Unreal for about, well, I started using Unreal properly about six months before I started the YouTube channel. So I just sat down and learnt it as much as I could within those 6 months, and picked it up and started teaching people how to do it thereafter. So altogether about 5.5 years I've been using Unreal, 5 of which have been YouTubed, other half not. So that is when I first got into it, is because we started doing it as a teaching exercise, so we were teaching it to students, and taken over my life ever since. Do you know of any sites or ways to contact artists, etc. for games development? I'm concerned about using contractors since the industry is rife with scammers. Yeah, Fiverr is good for this. I've used Fiverr before. There are other service websites like that. But yeah, it's all worth like that. That's pretty much a good one to do. Abstreet B, what's the hardest thing for you to do in Unreal? Like, what do you hate doing the most in it? Oh god. What do I hate the most? I don't really hate anything. There are things I dislike. Like, for example, the control rig, set up a control rig for characters and things like that. I hate doing that. I don't hate it. I just don't like doing it. If someone else could do that for me, that'd be great. But I haven't got much patience for animation stuff. Like actual animation stuff. Coding animations, I quite enjoy. I don't mind doing that, but it's actual animation creation part that gets my nerves a bit. But most stuff in there's problem with. Do you have any plans of doing a third-person tower defense game like Dungeon Defender? I can't say that's on my list. No. Games that are on my list are like MOBAs that are third-person type things. Obviously third-person combat stuff. Third-person AI. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, MOBA is pretty close to a tower defense thing, so when we eventually get around to doing that, it might be worthwhile. People all the way from Glasgow said to come see your face reveal. Okay. My face is at the start of most of my videos now, so it's not that much of a revealing face. What tips do you have for AI? I really want to do some more advanced combat AI in my game, but I can't seem to find a good starting point. I've watched your AI tutorials, but it was all stuff I already knew. Yeah, what do you mean by advanced combat? What do you mean by that? Because combating most games is not advanced, really advanced. So let us know what you think, what that is. Any plans on updated dialogue video? I love both the AI behavior tree one and the ultimate one with the data sheet. Yes. The answer to that one. I made it the other day. I just need to film it. Yeah. It's pretty much there. It is an extension of what we did with the behavior tree like one, but it's a better version of it. It's more refined, a little bit easier to use, a little bit tidier. So look forward to that coming soon, hopefully, especially the Patreon members. They get all the videos early, so yeah, look out for those. Similar to Doom Eternal's Demons AI. Okay, so the AI in like Doom, for example, isn't that complicated really. the thing that you're thinking of complicated is literally just the basic stuff, but it's just a combination of different types of actors, different types of enemies. And it's that sort of like level of combinations that make things feel a bit more like more advanced than they actually are. Not really advanced. Like the most advanced enemy AI I've seen like a shooter is probably Halo. So for example, grunts and elites, they will actually try and flank you, like go around and try and catch you on the sides. And also, if you kill the elite, the grunts will get scared and run away mostly, or go suicidal. So that's quite advanced. Don't really have that. And also they bark out voices, like dialogue at you based upon what you're doing, which is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, advanced is, yeah. I guess to specify the breakable weak points on enemies, I've struggled to figure that out. It's just another mesh. That's like, it's just a separate mesh piece that's on them, and you just, if you hit it and do damage to it, you make it fall off. That's all it is. So yeah, that's all that is. Like, I think what you're thinking of advanced as AI is not the AI is smart. It's the actual actor that you like, which is like weak points, things like that. And with like breakable weak points, the breakable bit is just a separate mesh that's on there, that's attached to a socket, and if you hit it enough times, it will fall apart or disappear, whatever, and then change what the AI does for attacking or movement or whatever. But needless to say, there are loads more AI videos coming very, very soon, especially with dealing with combat. And what I'll try and do is I'll throw in some varying enemies types, so you can see how you can create the same sort of like using the same system, create multiple enemies that do different stuff, and you just kind of make use of that sort of there to do like flying enemies, grounded enemies, range ones, melee ones. Lottie, would it have the data sheet implemented together with a behavior tree? No, it can do if you want it to. It's not too difficult to do, but yeah. Yeah. Chris, will you do enemy shooters? Do you mean like shoot at enemies firing back at you? I've got quite a few videos of that already out. But yeah, they'll be part of the updated AI tutorials as well. Superliminal object pickup effect. Is that the one where you pick it up and it changes its scale based on where you leave it? I mean, how I'd think about how to actually achieve that is complex, because you need to get how much space it takes up on the screen and compare that to how much space it takes up in the world, and that'll be its new scale. So I mean, let's go for example, can you even get the screen space size or something? If I go to the food thing I was doing, green space, green scale, extent, I'd have to. You'd have to. Extra. Because there is something in the engine that you can, that is being used for something like that, and that is the LOD system. So I wonder if there's a way to grab that data out and use it. I'm not too sure. So for example, go to the statue here. It tells me here, screen size 0.3. If I go that, go smaller, bigger, whatever. So I need to get the screen size. Can I do that? Screen size. Turn that off. Oh god. Get screen size of billboard. Doesn't look like it's something that's exposed. You probably need to go into the engine code and change it so it can expose it out, that information, I think. No problem, Shakama. Good to see you in my chat. Would you get the original distance from the camera to the object, divided by a distance between the camera to the new distance? But you don't know what the new distance is. Problem. I mean, maybe you could maybe do like that. Let's try. So, need to pick up items. Let me just make a quick first-person character. And first-person character. Camera. Copy that. Put that here. Don't need gamepad stuff. Got my world here. First person. Okay. So I just need to come up and down. So let's go. Camera. Use pawn control rotation. And now. So first person. So let's now make it so I can grab objects. So I want to add a spring arm to this camera. Around 180. And I want to attach whatever I click on to attach to the spring arm. You use a physics handle as well if you're doing physics based stuff. I can't recall subliminal how it played. They might have done that like that, I don't know. Shikama, no, I don't have a tutorial for procedural maze generation stuff. No, sorry. Not yet anyway. RE2 remake on the Steam Deck. I'm playing at the moment. Also playing a lot of Marvel Snap. I'm well into Marvel Snap on the phone. That's my go-to toilet and bedroom game. Yeah, I'm liking that game a lot. What was I doing? Oh yeah, tick event. Iron Trace. Channel. That point, get player and typos. Get actor location. Start. Get forward. Multiply by a distance of 1500. Add on to this one. Endpoint. Okay, probably open. And we'll say this is looking for ones that are pick upable, which is what we've done on the food when we've done the overcooked stuff earlier. So I'll just keep using that one. So hit actor does implement interface for pick upable. Put that into a branch. And hit actor here will promote thing. Actor. So nothing really new. I've done this quite a few times in many of my videos. Set that to pulse there. Okay, so when I left click, left mouse button, I want to check if the look actor here is valid. And then we're going to attach it to component. Add to the component. The component's going to be our spring arm. Snap. Ooh. Snap. Snap. Okay, so first of all, let's see if that actually works. Let's drag in our food. Oh. It does work, it's just going to the wrong place. And its collisions are all broken as well. So the reason why it was doing that is because the spring arm being affected by its collision. So I need to go to my fire cat here, go to spring arm and turn off collision test. Okay, there it is. Okay, so if I said get a distance, okay, so we need to record the original distance. Hang on. So when I go into here, we need to store the distance here. Okay, hold on. I'll take this hit and output this as well. Last hit. And on when I do left click, I'm going to get the last hit. Right click, split, get the distance and promote that to a variable and do start distance. Okay. So the hard part of this would be checking to make sure the so I'm just reading things. Oh, see you later, Shakama. Yeah, so the hard part of this is saying like the difference in distance equals what in size. That's gonna be the tricky bit. So we might take a bit of guessing, I think. I mean, I'm sure there's a mathematical formula to work it out, but I just don't have it in me to sit here and figure it out. So then on the left mouse button, we've got a start distance there. When I drop it again for released, again, valid. I want to get the new last hit. Put that. No, distance here. And I'll get a difference between difference between that distance and that won't work. Won't work because that distance will be the same. No, I'm gonna need a lot more time to figure this one. No, you can't just do distance. You need it to be screen size. That's the thing. It's gonna need to be screen size. Sorry, Vaxi. It's I don't know what I can think of him doing it. We've got 10 minutes left, everyone. So get your questions in there. We'll try and answer as many as we can in the last 10 minutes. Vinny, hey there, Ryan. Quick question: what do you recommend a study for a person who has a UI programmer interview on Unreal? Thanks in advance. Best regards. A UI programmer. Oh, on Unreal. I mean, does that include design? If it doesn't include design, think about UX. Make sure you understand UX a lot. As for UI programmer, make sure you understand the genre of games and what kind of things to expect from that type of genre, and what are the current trends. Also, keep in mind of platform and interaction you need required for those platforms. To showing that sort of demonstration and understanding that goes into those. So why a touch interface would be different from, say, a console interface. Things like that, I would imagine, would be important. But specifically, I don't know what for pure programming. I don't know. It's for an FPS game. Okay, yeah. So look at current trends in FPS games for UI menus and look at what they're doing. Maybe they're still doing the cursor thing. I don't know. Tab menus, are they still a thing? Don't know. Have a look. See what's going on. I haven't played an FPS game for a long time. Realised. Should get back into like COD or something. Richard Hensley, how do you go about making a player party system like an MMO that lets you share quests and quest progression? Oh my god. Jesus. Please tell me you're not making an MMO. Don't make an MMO. So long. It's impossibly hard. You need hundreds of people to work on it. But if you want to share stuff with people, after all, it's just data. So you're sending over what you'd put in your save file. You'll send over to them. So let's say, for example, you've got an array of the quests you've got on your system. All you're doing when you want to share quests, look at your menu of quests, click on it, and click the share button, and it will add that quest ID over to their quest log. Similarly for items, you give them the item ID and give it to their one. Not moving it, you're copying it. So yeah. Just check the subliminal Wikipedia, and that is pretty much how they did it. Oh, well, with line traces. I'm just too sleep deprived to figure out then. You need. Oh, I'm interested now. Again, the distance. It'd probably actually be. It'd be a distance. No. It helps because their one you can scroll in and stuff as well. Whereas mine's kind of fixed in place. Oh, we need to do a physics handle, I think, in hindsight. I don't need a new line trace. Got this one doing its thing constantly. I'm just keeping track of the last hit. So the last hit's happening on when I press it. So I'm capturing it at its press, and I'm capturing it when I release. So it's the same line trace. It's just getting that. I think anyway. We may need to turn off an actor to not be collidable with it. Maybe. I don't know. Because we got. Because how is that? That's just going to return the same distance. Unless I say. Look at actor here. No, that's not going to work because I need. I need to know a physics handle. I should know it was a physics handle. That's the problem. Because mine's fixed at a fixed location, so that distance is going to be the same no matter what. So, yeah, I need to do a physics handle, which maybe I get to tutorial on it late at some point. Oh, it's interesting one to try and solve that. Yeah. Tyler Young, have you played around with Lyra at all? A little bit. I don't like it. It's fine for a like demonstration tool. It's not so great for like a game development tool, or teaching tool. Because if you want to learn how they did certain things, you can't. You have to go through the engine code bit by bit to find it. Because they've made specific classes for the Lyra characters, Lyra game modes, things like that, and obfuscated a lot of that stuff unless you have the source code of it. So when teaching it to people, it's a bad example to use because I can't easily show them it in blueprint form. I have to show it in C++, and people don't like looking at C++. Yeah. Richard Hensley, so where would be the best place to store that data? On the controller, probably, if you're doing a multiplayer game. Yeah, it's not very helpful. It's good for level design things. If you want to teach level design for multiplayer games, it's good for that. But if you want to learn how online multiplayer games work, it's not a great example for it. It's fine. It's the answer to it, basically. Okay, I think we'll start wrapping it up there. So, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has joined us live tonight for this extra length stream. I am absolutely exhausted. My throat hurts from talking so much. But again, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's supported the channel over the past 5 years. We are not just 5 years old, we're 5 years young. We've got so much more to achieve, and I really want to hit the goal of 100,000 subscribers by the end, by this time next year, which is a tall ask because we're not on track to do that, but I really want to push the channel to achieve that, hopefully in that time frame. So if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really does help out. And I want to say a massive thank you to also to all the Patreon members who have supported me up to and still do support me on Patreon. It is amazing to have your support, and you're the reason why we're able to do this full time and help as many people as I can and put as much content as I can. Speaking of content, this Saturday we are resuming Saturday live streams. So this weekend will be the resumption, the continuation, that's the word, of Retro Remake, where we're recreating Bomberman, the classic game that we started early in the year. So we're going to finish that off by the end of the year. But yeah, that's it. So keep an eye out for other announcements coming soon as well, including a little announcement coming tomorrow, hopefully, if I finish off the artwork for it. But yeah, keep an eye out for a little announcement for tomorrow and another one on Friday. Again, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everyone.